we're just going to start with public comments.
Yep.
All righty.
Ms. Print is grabbing your roll call sheet.
Okay.
Goes to Ms. Lampier. She's in charge.
Okay. Okay, this should be a quick hearing.
Do you want to leave one up there? I put 2 just in case.
Okay, first up, we have Stephen Scare.
Good evening. I wanted to address a concern about the rising special education costs, especially the school district needing to hire teachers and services from outside agencies. Usually, when you can't hire someone, it's because no one wants the job. In this case of special education, I would look at what the job demands are. My experience is that you could have a special educator working late every night, working through weekends, and the baffling bureaucracy and requirements for federal and state compliance, they'd never be able to meet them. I could look at any IEP and see that here's places where this IEP is not meeting state and federal standards. And it's not because the special ed teachers are bad people, it's because the work is such that no one can reasonably keep up. When you look at the contracts, the offers that they're getting for the people hiring special ed teachers, the private agency, their main selling point isn't more money, certainly not better health care. It's a promise you're not going to have to work more than 40 hours a week. People don't want to go to a job where they could work 70 hours a week and not keep up. The other problem that's really you'd have to work with the state on is unrealistic state standards. I mean, any city that we look at, any town, the proficiencies are less than 50%. That's because, the average is the middle 2/3. And half of us are below the mid-average statistically. That's the way it works. And when kids get stuck, the curriculum with these unrealistic standards keeps on moving on. The main criteria for needing special ed services is needing special ed services to access the regular curriculum. If you've got 60% of students not keeping up with proficiencies, well, then they need help. And that's why one of the reasons you're going to get so many special ed needs for special ed services. And you end up with kids going through Algebra 2 who can't add, subtract with regrouping, or have no concept of percentages or fractions. So what I would look at is locally, what can you do to make this job, what sort of clerical support, what's the caseload size to make this job more appealing to special ed teachers so you don't have to hire outside of districts? And what could you do to work with the state to come up with standards where we aren't just pushing kids along and leaving them frustrated? Thank you.
So Gary Hoffman.
Gary Hoffman, 38 Perham Street, Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm also the president of the Teachers Union. I urge everybody on this board to pass the superintendent's recommended budget tonight. I know that 6% is a very large ask. It's the largest we've had in my memory. But the costs that are driving that increase are largely things we cannot control. They are mostly special education costs, as the previous speaker said, increases in things like the electricity rate. I believe it went up 47%, transportation costs. What actually isn't driving the increase that is interesting is the salaries of the people who work in the district. I know that the state has a new law that requires us to print that information. And I found it very interesting that adjusted for inflation, the average teacher's salary is significantly less than it was 10 years ago, or even 4 years ago. Even administrator salaries and wages haven't kept up either. So it's not, one important thing the public needs to understand, what's causing these increases aren't the people who work here. It's not our salaries, not the administrators, not the people, not the rank and file people whom I represent. So I urge you all, pass this unanimously. come with us to the Board of Aldermen, because I know this is going to be a tough sell. We're going to have to explain this to the Board of Aldermen. And ultimately, I really encourage this board to maybe send a letter to Concord. We need some help with special education funding. It shouldn't be something that's left to the local communities to fund. It should be a statewide thing. Something like Vermont does that, for example. I think they cover like 90% of it. The second piece I would like to bring up is part of this budget, part of the cuts, the 50 cuts that are being proposed. It's disproportionately going to be impacting the high school. And I know the high school is going to be having a new schedule next year, perhaps. And I really encourage the administration, the school board, to sit down with the teachers union to come up with ways to make sure that that new schedule does not impact the working conditions of the people I represent, the paras, the teachers, the clerical workers, et cetera. There's some simple things we can do, limiting the number of preps, limiting the number of students in study halls. I know some of the high school teachers have some great ideas, but please sit down with us. Let's work together to make sure that these changes do not impact the people I represent, because their working conditions are the students' learning conditions. Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Ken Heaton. And if anyone else wants to sign up, the slip is right there, so please feel free. We're here to listen to you guys tonight. Okay, let's see. All right, go ahead, sorry.
Thank you. I'm Ken Heaton. I'm a social studies teacher at Nashua High School South. I live in Milford, but I've been teaching at the high school for the last 26 years. I'm addressing you here tonight to support the passing of the budget as proposed by the superintendent, but also address the changes to the high school schedule that will accompany such this proposal. So, shortly after the high school teachers were informed of the tentative proposed schedule changes, we were gathered in our departments during the in-service day, and we were directed to brainstorm how to make it work. And that didn't sit well with a lot of people. We understood what was coming, but we were asked to make it work when we knew we were going to be asked or need to do more with less. We were asked to make it work knowing that some of our friends and coworkers that were sitting right next to us were going to be riffed next year. We're going to make it work. It's what we do. But making it work is going to require more than a new bell schedule and more than just putting it on the backs of the teachers to figure it out. It will require real policy changes that you and our administration will need to support us with. So I looked over a lot of the feedback that those departments came up with. And in the time I have, I'm going to try and convey to you 3 policies that teachers overwhelmingly stated are needed in order to make this new schedule work. So number 1, we need lower class sizes with homogeneous grouping. Many classes currently mix foundations and extensions or extensions and honors together. Smaller single-level classes are a proven best practice. And under a compressed schedule, this is not optimal. We are also going to need lower enrollment thresholds for running a class and a lower cap on max class sizes if we're going to meet the needs of our students with less time. Number 2, we need more time and support to realign the curriculum. Shorter classes mean significantly less instructional time per quarter and per semester. Our entire curriculum is built around a longer block. Science labs, CTE courses, and the arts are especially vulnerable, and they're going to need more time to figure it out, to make it work. So we need dedicated department planning time, dedicated PD time to adapt to the needs of our students, and that time must be built into a transition plan before the year begins, not squeezed into a shortened prep period after the year begins. Number 3, a structured study hall policy on day 1. In this, the teachers are very unified. Study halls are going to fail without clear school-wide expectations. Study halls are going to fail without a strict, consistently I'm close.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That was the 3 minutes, if you could just,
I'm
They don't have 3 minutes
Oh,
on public hearing.
really?
Oh, I thought I did. I was
Oh,
close.
I'm sorry. Go right ahead. Talk
Okay.
for as long as you like.
I'll talk a little slower then. Maybe. Anyways, teachers want a strict, consistent, enforced attendance system from the start. They're asking that clear and consistent expectations be communicated before the schedule goes live, not after the problems arise. Without these guardrails, there's a serious concern that there's going to be more supervision problems than E-Block ever had. So these three issues are very solvable problems, but only if someone is specifically assigned to solve them. If you approve these proposed changes, these policies must be immediately addressed. I am here to tell you this, that at a bare minimum, this is what we need. If you are going to dramatically change the learning environment for reasons you can't control, if you're going to change the system that given the choice you would rather not on such short notice, then would not the reasonable thing to do be ask us, how can we help you? This is the help we need. These are the supports and changes we need. And I ask you to address and act upon these three policies before the proposed schedules takes effect next year. Our students deserve no less, and neither do we. Thank you.
Thanks. Kirsten, could you grab the other sheet? Sorry. Okay. All right, so we have Jennifer Byrne.
Hello, my name is Jen Byrne. I live at 155 Westwood Drive here in Nashua. My kids came through New Searles Fairgrounds and then are all graduates of Nashua High School South. My daughter graduated 2 years ago. My son's graduated in the spring. So I sort of talk from all the positions, right? And I'm also a teacher at Nashua South. I'm sorry if I'm nervous. I don't know if I said that. So anyways, I sort of have all the positions here. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a parent, I'm a teacher, an employee. I think what's so upsetting to me about the new schedule and getting rid of E-Block is that I feel like it doesn't take care of, it sort of pushes the problem somewhere else. It's like we have a broken leg, we put us into a wheelchair, we can go further for a little bit, but in a year, we still can't walk. That's where I feel like we are. Just to give you a glimpse of my classroom. So last semester, 2 of my classes, I co-taught Algebra 1, Part 1 Foundations. That's one of the lowest classes that we have for math at Nashua South. I co-taught with a special educator. It was a wonderful experience. We have a great rapport because we are given common planning time, and he and I had a wonderful relationship before. That's important. In my class, I had 2 students that had one-on-one paras. So this district is paying for one-on-one paras for those 2 students. It's in their IEP. I understand that they need it. Those 2 students had over 90 days combined absences. We paid for an entire position for students that were not there. We don't have an attendance policy, right? So I would ask the district to put together some data to see how many extra sections we are running of classes based on kids not coming to class. My 2 Algebra 1 sections had a fail rate of 25% last semester. I think that's awful, right? 25% of my students didn't pass. 100% of my students that came, 80% or more, passed. So the 25% of my students were missing more than 20% of their school days. I just don't think we're focusing on what we need to be focusing on. I also think our schedule, I think X2 is terrible for our scheduling. I think it doesn't put together everything that we need to do. I think we need a much more human touch to it. I teach pre-calc honors. I have a section of 30 this semester. I had a section of 16 last semester. I'm pretty sure we had that section of 16 because our limit is 31. I'm pretty sure we had 32 students. We shouldn't be running a whole extra section for 1 student. I get it would be wonderful if we could, but that's not where we are. I think a lot of our issues are issues from our schedule. They're issues from our non-attendance policy. I understand that the attendance policy, we don't want to be grading behavior, but not teaching kids that they have to show up is an issue, right? I'm not saying fail them because they don't come, but there need to be supports in place. So I don't know. That's what I've been seeing from mine. That's what I would ask you to look for.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, everyone. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak?
My name's Richard Tino, 11 Burnside Street. I think I'm going to be, sure. Yep, no problem. Let's see, a few things. You guys were elected to be the adults and not go ask mom and dad for more money. You guys control the largest portion of our tax bill. So make the choices based on that. Don't go begging to the alderman for this or that. Decide what you want and ask for it. And I don't know why the aldermen control and give you a yes or no, and maybe it's because past school boards just asked for the sky and there needed to be some control. Maybe it's because we're not a town and everyone doesn't get to vote down the school budget like the other towns. But you're asking the alderman for a 6% raise when you should be making changes to the budget to do what you need to do with the money you have. A 6% raise, if you look at all the kind of the high and low, is between $100 and $1,000 per taxpayer. That's after you added the 3.6 last year to everyone's tax bill. So be smart with your money. Stop undercutting the administration by saying you can't do something because you got an emotional response from a bunch of people. Supporting education doesn't mean spending more money. It means using your money efficiently, applying it where it needs to be applied. You've done a great job with the recent proposals where you look at the what the district has. And instead of asking teachers to teach in a 100-year-old building that has lousy heat and poor circulation and having all your buildings a quarter, 2/3 full, make some choices that allow you to save money and think about the future of the district, not next year, not the year after, not thinking about things that are happening right away. Think about things 5 years down the road. In the 5-year plan that you looked at this summer, none of that is about planning budgets ahead. None of that is looking at exactly what you need to do, at least nothing that's published on the website. Start thinking ahead. Don't react to things. Start thinking ahead. Plan ahead and work for what the district needs. Don't just ask for more money to cover up the problems to move things along. According to that same presentation, we've got 1,500 less students than we did 6 years ago. Now, that's 15% of our district. That feels like a small number. It's enough to be significant, but it feels like a small number. 40 other districts in New Hampshire, that would be their entire district. Their entire district. So we haven't done anything about the buildings in our district, and we've lost an entire district of students for many of our other towns in New Hampshire. We're a big town. We have lots of things that we can do, but look critically at what you can do. Don't kick things down the road. Don't ask the alderman not to pay for renovations so that you can then come back and say, it wasn't us that decided this, it was someone else. You make the call. You were elected to make these calls. Make the calls. Make the hard choices that aren't even that hard. Just do a little bit of math from the algebra class, and it's not even algebra. So you can justify to yourself that you don't have time for some of these discussions if you'd like, but about closing buildings. But if you're looking to make long-term choices, you need to look at the meetings that you've had, look at the feedback from that, look at the recommendations, and not kick at the can down the road another year. Supporting education is not less money, not more money for education. It's better allocation of the money for education. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Any other comments? Your name and address down.
Sure, I'm Beverly Mann, and I've been a para at the New Surrey Elementary School for 43 years. My children all went to Nashua. My children all went to New Surrey's. They went to Fairgrounds, and they went to Nashua High School, and they're all doing very well. I cannot understand why you would even think of closing that school when there are children in that neighborhood who could walk to that school, who are bused up the street. You have a little bit of overcrowding up there at Bicentennial. Send them down to our school. We're a great organization there, a fantastic school with a lot of wonderful people that work there. There's no reason for our school to be closed. You put all that money into renovating that school, and now you want to think about closing it? It's a neighborhood school. It's a fantastic school. It's got everything that any child will want, and fantastic people who work there, who care about these kids. And I don't want to see anything happen to that school. Another thing I want to talk about is I hear this thing about banning books. My God, what are we doing? We are taking books away from children to read. I've never seen anything like it. I ask, where are the books that these kids used to read that my kids read? They should be in the library. They should be there. This has got to stop. My kids had a fantastic education out of the school system. Couldn't read enough books and stuff like that, and learning everything. I have two people here, one that was a former librarian at our school, and she can speak to it too. We had great things going on. Now you say, well, we can't put that in the library, we can't put this in the library, we can't put that. Excuse me? Free speech and freedom of press and freedom to read. It's got to be brought back. We are a fantastic school system. Don't let us go underneath. You know, support us. So the teachers and people that work at that school, or all the schools in Nashua, are fantastic. They care about these kids. You've got to save it. Don't you dare close that school. I got to get on my soapbox.
I'm writing it down.
Oh, okay, you can.
I don't know how accurate I am, but I'm doing my best.
Thank you. No, leave it there.
I'm Kevin Fitzpatrick. I'm currently a special education social studies teacher at North. I grew up in this district. I graduated from South, from Bicentennial, and from Fairgrounds. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Heaton. I don't think we should be cutting the schools at all. There are not enough jobs in this city as it is. Teaching is one of the few available careers for graduates of four-year schools, and even then, the starting wage is not enough to afford a one-bedroom apartment in this city. It's not sustainable for education to get worse. There's no help coming from the state. AOT is against public education. We have to be brave, not in the way of closing schools, but in asking for what is necessary to educate the population. Like, that's all I got. That's all I got.
Okay, guys, we're not supposed to have applause. Sorry. Okay. I think that's it. I don't see anyone else.
Make a
Ms.
motion to
Raymond?
adjourn.
Oh, thank you. I have a constituent, a Nashua resident, emailed me a question who wasn't able to be here tonight, and I told him I would ask if I could ask it on his behalf. Okay, the question is from Bill Ferraro of Indian Rock Road. He writes, I cannot attend the public hearing on the school district budget. Can I ask this question, please? There are 192 open positions posted on the school district website. Are all of those fully funded in the 2027 budget, wages, and benefits?
All right, so as of this point, the 192 positions consist of 18 positions that are for school year 26, 27. There are 4 positions posted for this summer for our special education teachers and our paraeducators. And then the remainder of those positions are technically to offset the current contractors that we have in play for the 25-26 school year. So since we're going through the budget process right now in the suggestion, I would say a majority of those positions would probably be posted for next school year as well, but we won't be posting a majority of them until our final budget's approved.
Okay, and Mr. Ferraro had a follow-up question. He said, please follow up by asking what is the total dollar amount for wages and benefits for unfilled positions that are in the 2027 proposed budget? Thank you.
I can get you a specific follow-up to that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, well, if there's no one else that wants to speak, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second?
Hold on.
I get sidetracked by this.
Okay. Okay. Do we have to say, we have to vote, right?
Yeah, we do, but I don't think it has to be a roll call. Also, I forgot to mention for the recording, but I did write it down on the sheet that Mr. Salvi is here. He arrived at 6:11, and Miss Paraturo is here. She arrived at like 6:04.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay. Okay, so motion, we are adjourned
And it is
6:30.
at 6:30. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go right into our
We'll
budget
stop
meeting.
the recording. We'll restart the recording. We'll give Pete a hot second to, I don't know if he needs to do anything, but we'll come back in. You'll host your final budget meeting where we talk. And then if we want to, we'll come back into a full board meeting and vote. If we don't feel like voting as a full board tonight because we don't have enough information, we have something scheduled Wednesday. If we do vote tonight, then we don't have to come back Wednesday.
Can we vote on it in the budget meeting?
Yes, so it says Special Board of Education meeting. It's a budget approval, and then we have an item, open enrollment. Thank you.
It's like, I think I was right.
No, I want to make sure the minutes are right. It's very important to me.
All right, so now we're going to begin our
we go back
budget
to
committee
recording?
meeting.
Did you hit the record again?
All right, so 3-9, this is the budget committee.
So now, Regan, you reopen the budget committee meeting for comments and questions on the presented and proposed budget.
Okay, all right, so we're going to open the budget committee for questions and comments on the proposed budget.
So Ms. Lampier, we have a short executive summary, so we can
Excellent.
kind of review it from a couple weeks ago, and then we'll open up for some questions.
Yes.
All right, that sounds great.
Okay,
All
excellent.
right, so, hold on. So.
roll call again.
We have to say the time. It's 6:32 PM. And I need to roll call who's here. Ms. Gilio?
Here.
Ms. Prin?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Salvi? Ms. Lampier?
Here.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What did I do wrong?
It's fine.
Did I say Ms. Lewis?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just not checking as fast as I'm going. Ms. Lopez?
Here.
Ms. Raymond? Wait,
That's you.
yeah, I know, I have more than 9 people written down somehow, and Ms. Bishop.
That's me.
Okay, Hold on. Okay, we also have, I'm going to say it, Ms. Paratoru. I'm going to get it. Dr. Andrade. Mr. Gray moved.
Yeah, I thought she left. It's like we don't have a meeting without her.
Mr. Posca, and Dr. Scarpetti. Yay, okay. Thank you for your indulgence. I'm going to try and pre-write it for the next one.
Okay, Mr. Gray, go ahead.
I think Dr. Andre's going to kick us off first. As he said, just an executive summary, a lot of these, or every slide you've seen before, but we thought it would be beneficial to put him back on the screen for everybody.
Okay.
So again, I think higher order, thinking at the beginning, just going back to our vision, and again, I really think it's important as based on the budget hearing, again, as we start moving forward, I think our vision is really critical, again, where the Nashua School District is a community where curiosity drives education and every learner is valued. And I think it's critically important right now, especially as we're developing a budget of, how is our district coming together as a community? Where curiosity, again, we welcome questions on where are we spending, how are we spending, what does it mean for the future, especially around education. And right now, everyone's a learner. It's just not a student. It's we as adults, community members, grandparents. I think the aspect, and we heard one of the comments tonight, where are we going to be in 5 years? So I think everybody needs to be a learner in this process as we move forward. And then just our school district by the numbers. We're currently at 9,500 students. Our budget, our average class size, the number of staff members, senior class, the number of languages spoken. And then our enrollment over the years, we've seen a decline in the last 10 years plus. And then you can compare that to our staffing. And then our changes in our demographics. And I think these two slides need to go hand in hand. And you can see our demographics of our students are changing. Where we see our ELL and special education population growing and our regular ed population declining. But that also goes back to we need different FTEs. So it's just not a one-to-one as the enrollment goes down. We also know as our ELL population or our special education increases that we require different people to help our students. So it's not always a direct correlation of staffing, of enrollment goes down, we reduce by the numbers. We know our students on IEPs need different services, and same thing with our ELL. So we present those two slides, but we also know there's a caveat behind it. It's just not a one-to-one, just different needs. And then we look at, again, the changes in time of our ELL student growth and then our investment over the last couple of years in our ELL teachers. We've been talking about this slide since 2022, especially with the DOJ settlement. And we've been investing a lot more ELL teachers in this current budget. We're also looking at more ELL teachers because the caseload for our ELL teachers is very high, and we know our students need more direct support. Again, right now our staffing, our ELL caseloads are around 35 students per every teacher. And again, we're proposing hiring more ELL teachers this year to meet those ELL needs. Next. And then this came out, this was guidance from the mayor. As you recall at the beginning, the mayor is asking for a 3% increase, and we're asking for a 6% tonight. So we still have work to do with the Board of Aldermen and the mayor, but we can see where the mayor has asked us to come in at and where we currently are tonight. Next slide.
Want me to hop in?
Sure
Sorry.
thing.
Thank you. So if we, as mentioned during the budget presentations, if we go ahead and roll everything over, plus do some major increases to next year's budget, that would put us at an 8.8% increase overall. 1.7 million of that would come from transportation, 275,000 would come from staffing services, some additional funds for educational assistance, adding 4 new ELL teachers to the budget. We currently have 2 collective bargaining units that are being negotiated. Within our IT budget, we do have about $250,000 being requested for IT infrastructure, around $200,000 being increased in totality for plant operations. And then kind of your 2 bigger buckets is special education contract services. We originally proposed to put $3.5 million in operating. Currently have 1.7 in there for this year's budget. But as we've seen, contract services has drastically increased. And then 1.5 million we'd propose to put in special revenue, which actually is an increase from this current year of 500,000. Tuition out of district, we'd make the suggestion to add an additional $1 million to the operating budget, bringing that cost to, or budget, excuse me, of $7.2 million in the operating budget, and then increasing our special revenue account to $1 million.
So the next slide shows some of our budget priorities. At the top is our state and federal mandates. As Mr. Gray just kind of went through, some of our new investments are definitely around special education, our out-of-district tuition and contract services, our ELL teachers, transportation, and then not forgetting that we still need safe, warm buildings for all. The middle category is places that we still need to increase. So at the elementary level, we have schools that are in need for more math and reading interventionists. One of the, if we can kind of maintain where we're looking at some of our cuts and kind of being revenue neutral, I would still be looking at replacing some of the cuts at the high school level and investing more at our elementary level, especially in our CSI schools and our ATSI schools, our neediest schools that are in the bottom 5% of the state. So I think we're one Nashua, it's one budget. And so we need to start thinking as one district as opposed from school to school. And right now, based on our academic data, our biggest needs around more supports would be at the elementary level. And again, our CSI schools and our ATSI and more heavily investments in those schools. And then again, depending on our total number of what we end up with, our wish list is, again, future planning. I think X2 was a great example. It's outdated software. It's hard to manipulate. It's a number of years old, but how do we invest in new technologies, whether it's X2 or our HRIS system? We're working with the city right now on a new budget platform, but that would be a long-term investment on how do we upgrade some of our technologies. That goes into our HR department, our ERP. We had a long conversation, and we should have many more, on what's our district's commitment to outdoor spaces and outdoor classrooms. In other words, our playgrounds. We've been relying year over year for our PTOs to invest in playgrounds. I think it's an outdoor classroom, and that's something that we should be considering as in our operational budget on how do we support that. We haven't done it in the past, but I think we need to plan on doing that in the future. Also, we need looking at classroom furniture. Again, how do we provide a comfortable learning environment for our students and our teachers. And we know there's a number of school buildings right now that need cafeteria tables, they need new desks, they need new chairs, so we need to invest in that as well. And then we are developing a tech plan that would be coming to the Board of Education within the next couple of months on how do we plan out the next 5 years and how do we invest in our technology infrastructure. So we have it in buckets, and so depending on the number that the Board of Education votes on, what are our major priorities, and then what's our nice-to-haves and what's our wish list. So we need to start thinking about that long-term planning and what's our data telling us, and again, what's one Nashua. So it will be hard conversations on are we restructuring at the high schools and then reinvesting in the elementary. I'll be honest and say, that's what the data is telling us. So I think depending on where we go, we need to be looking at our ATSI schools and our CSI schools. Next slide. Mr. Gray.
Thanks. So the next slide here is just a couple pie charts showing what the percentage was last year. As folks are aware, our final budget was actually a 4% increase. And again, if we go ahead and roll everything over as mentioned prior, it would be an 8.8% roughly increase without benefits. So as folks can see in these charts, the majority of the cost is personnel and benefits. So then the next slide is just the recommendation. So Dr. Andrade and I and the team had made the suggestion to roll over a 6% increase. And in order to go ahead and get to that 6%, how do we do it? So it'd be roughly $3.8 million of cuts. As we talked, in totality, roughly $2.4 million in positions. Transportation would come down $450,000, and then contract services within operating budget would need to come down by about $1 million. So again, another pie chart just to show what the percentage is overall in the increase. Again, it would be a 6% without benefits. So our total budget we would be requesting would be roughly $144 million. And then this last slide, or second to last slide, just gives some of the historicals. So as Dr. Andrade mentioned, the 6% really is pretty high compared to what we've seen history year over year. But as we've heard, there's several factors going into this, not only increased contract services, as well as additional funds that we probably need at the state level. So this is just a history of where the overall percentage increase has been to our operating budget over the last 10 years. All right, that's it for the executive summary.
Okay, let me open it up. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Ms. Raymond, go ahead.
Of course I have questions. Can you go back to the upside down pyramid bucket slide, please? Oops. Yeah, that one.
This one? Sure.
Okay, so if we are looking at, just for the sake of discussion, 3, 6, or the 8, or let's say 9 that we need to keep everything, right? Where does the 3%, which bucket does the 3% cover? Does it cover any bucket entirely? Okay. Like, can we even meet our federal or state mandates if we do the 3% that the mayor has asked?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you will see if we truly need to go to 3%, you're going to see some pretty drastic cuts, and the items that are going to stay are your special education primarily, which is not a good proposal.
So if the 6 that we've discussed with significant staff cuts, in my opinion, I just, 50 people is just,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's painful. Does that get us any nice to haves, or does that still keep us in the Fed state mandates?
I think your 6% is going to get you a little bit of your nice to haves, right? So some of the technology is sitting within there. You know, when we're making some of these increases, really my suggestion to you folks as the financial person is I understand it's extremely challenging to cut positions. But some of this, if we don't do it, then year over year, we're going to be having some of those similar conversations. I mean, as you saw on the pie charts, you know, 80%, 70% of our budget really is personnel and benefits. So that wish list is, if we get more, our suggestion would be that we start to dip into some of that wish list stuff. You start to make some of those infrastructure increases. I mean, we've heard a lot of noise this year related to the playgrounds and how valuable that is in the outdoor classrooms. Classroom furniture needs to be looked at as well.
Yeah. The 6% will get us most of the nice-to-haves. And again, that's, even if we had to prioritize the nice-to-haves in there, again, I think the math and reading interventionists would be critically important for our CSI and ATSI. Our Tier 1 curriculum supports, again, how do we support our teachers and in the teaching and learning. The behavioral support, we frequently see as more coming from IEPs. And then the technology plan, again, I think we need to be looking both short and long term. We might be able to hold off on some technology, but again, there's going to be an end date of life expectancy to some. So the 6% gets most of that. The aspect, too, is if it's more than 6%, I would really push this board on what are we reinvesting in? So based on our data, so do we need, again, the unpopular answer, all 56 positions back as is, or are they a new 56 positions? Or the reinvestment in going in a certain aspect of it. So I will look at, you know, what's our student focus based on the on the data, and then if it's an 8% we're asking for, I would really challenge us not to maintain what we currently have, but reinvest. So if we had the extra $2 million, would we want the same product next year as we had this year? Or are there different investments that we would actually look at? And I think whether that's personnel or larger investment. So again, I wouldn't ask for the 8% just to have 8% so that we have the same. I think we need to really, again, lead with curiosity, be learners, and then what do our students need, and ask those questions on where are we reinvesting that gets our most academic return on investment.
Ms. Lopez.
So I would like to start off by saying, last year I asked for money for more of a percentage on top of the 3%. This year, I want to rework the budget. I think it's teachers over technology. I think that we should be able to create at least 2 or 3 alternative budgets, not just one take it or leave it budget, because we have been supported with our special education. I understand it's the biggest ticket item. I am very invested in supporting that, but I would, instead of getting new technology, I would like to keep some of the teachers, but that's not even an option. We don't see that. That's not presented here today. So that's my thing. I will go with whatever the board says, but that's my piece. Last year I asked for more money. This year I'm asking for a whole new budget.
You can go ahead. I'm sorry. I can't read your name from here.
I have a quick question. So you mentioned if we were able to go above the 6%, that would go into the wish list. Why would that not go towards like the staff positions that are being removed?
Yeah, so I think some of it would be people, right? So obviously, I think how many math and reading interventionists, you know, again, I think there's an aspect we heard in the budget hearing. So what supports do we need in the new schedule? So the new schedule at the high school would actually, we would be able to support the teachers a little differently, but the program of studies will still be offered with some of the reductions, right? So then we would have additional sections. So do we need all of those sections, or does it look different? So I think it really depends on the scheduling. And then if we had that money for more positions, where would we put those positions? So I would bring back people, but in the right places. So I think that's the aspect of it. And what does that look like? So if we got a 6.5 and we had an extra $500,000, how do we invest that based on it? You know, are we the structured study hall policy? The administration 100% agrees. You know, without any rules and guidelines, we don't want chaos either. I think we actually, we putting money aside for professional development for the teachers and the curriculum. I think that needs to happen as well. So I think that's what we will look at. And then again, across if with more money, I would still look at, you know, are we doing something revenue neutral and swapping a teacher from the high school for an investment at the elementary level? And so that's what I would look at if we got more money.
So if the new high school schedule were to work and the program of studies were to remain the same, the money would likely not go towards teachers, and it would go towards...
It would go to possibly different teachers. I would say in priorities, like I would look at Dr. Crisp, I would look at Ledge, I would look at Amherst Street, those schools that are in warning right now that our students are, again, in CSI standing, which means that we're the lowest 5% in the state. That's where we need to invest on, as opposed to, again, not the popular answer on what are some of our high school electives. So I think we need, as a board, as making a recommendation, we haven't invested enough in some of those intervention classes at the elementary school in our Title I. I think we need to reprioritize and put more investments in our elementary Title I schools.
Can I just hop in real quick? So I think in addition to what Dr. Andrade said, I just want to respond to kind of the comment that was on the table about a whole new budget. We can rework the budget any way this board wants, but what I'm going to tell you is it's going to come down to wages and personnel. And unfortunately, the numbers are the numbers, and if we don't truly step back and look at wages and benefits, we're going to be having a similar conversation next year, the year after that. So I think what you're hearing from the administration team is we feel that we can continue to support the students of Nashua and not take away any services that are required by federal law to be able to go ahead and make a budget that's not 3%, that is 6% work.
Okay, Mr. Selvey.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. My first question is, first of all, our number of students are going down, okay? I have not seen in any of the budget that we have any kind of a efficient process where we reduce the cost. I have not even seen on any of the bucket item that we basically optimize the process, or we thought out of box and we have reduced the cost in any particular process. I have not seen it in any of the budget. Second thing is, you guys are making an assumption that 6% will be approved by city. If it is not approved by city, what is our plan? Like, if they just say that we can't go beyond 4%, so what will be eliminated?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, we'll be back around this horseshoe, and that's where, to Mr. Gray's point, the biggest items are going to be personnel again. It could be a question that we're not recommending right now, but are we closing a school? So that's when we start getting into the heavy work on but it's going to come down to salary and wages. We're not going to cut our about efficiencies. We're not cutting electricity. Right? It's some of those fixed costs. Maybe we save a bus or two, but that's $100,000. Some of those bigger items are going to be, again, it's going to be personnel. If we closed one of our schools, it's about $1.5 million. That gets us to a 4.8 request.
Just
So-
to follow up, are we saying that out of $191 million budget, there is no way that we can put some kind of efficient process in place, a cost cutting, so that we can reduce some money or save some money?
So I think if you look at the pie chart, right, and so our biggest area for cutting is personnel. So we might be able to trim in some of the other areas. Out-of-district tuition, we know is going up. Transportation, utilities is 2%. But the biggest piece of the pie is people. And so, again, I think that aspect that we have to have is, where are we reinvesting to get the most academic return on investment? But if we're going to reduce our budget, it's going to be elimination of positions. There's, I think that's the skinny of it, right? So if we're looking for other efficiencies outside of people, there's not a lot in our budget that you're gonna be reducing.
I feel like, just a couple of more questions. I feel like, for example, there was a testimonials, teacher said that we are taking so many classes for one student, repetitive. Can we document those things and try to come and reduce those things? There are so many, as you said a couple of times, that there are so many buses where they are supposed to, by law, we have to basically provide them the buses even though they don't ride it. So can we not improve those processes and try to reduce the cost? Because that's the wastage of money, in my opinion.
Yeah, so every year we look at the ridership and we might be able to tweak a bus here or there, but we also know in some of our routes, we look for efficiencies. If we're combining 1 or 2 buses, some of those routes might end up being 90 minutes to 2 hours, which is a very long time for a student to be on. And so I think that's the aspect that we do look at. What are the efficiencies, and we try to maximize it. At the high school, students are supposed to pay. Which gets hard at the high school level is that some families sign up for transportation, but they're playing sports or they're in the play, so their ridership is sporadic. But we do look at transportation. So we do look at some of those efficiencies, and we might be able to save $100,000 here or there. The biggest item, and we're looking at special education and some of our programs, we have a lot of special education buses that are going around the town, which isn't an efficient model just because of where students are placed. So we're looking at, can we reconfigure some classrooms, and then it might save a couple of the special education routes, and we're working on that currently right now. So that's a big cost, is the amount of special education transportation, not necessarily the bigger buses.
I just wanted to let Ms. Lewis have a chance to ask a question.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it all right, Ms. DeGray, if we go to the slide with the percentages of the increases over the years? Thank you. So I was just curious, last year when this budget proposal was put together, was there any idea of how much it would have increased for this coming year? Was that ever brought to mind or thought about, or?
I don't think there was a suggestion at that time of what this year's budget would look like. There's always been a proposal or a recommendation from the mayor.
Yeah. So the other aspect, and again, I think it's the long term, is that is through our contracts, we can kind of forecast out 3 or 4 years of what the salaries are going to be. So we have a good estimate on what our wages are going to be. Benefits, again, are on the city side. The last 2 years, some of the biggest swings have been around special education costs. And I think that was a newer unintended increase. For transportation, we know the cost for the next 4 years. For our labor contracts, we know the cost for the next 3 years, plus or minus a percentage point. But so we are able to forecast that out.
So, okay, so with this being said, right, the recommendation is 6%. what are we looking at for the year after that? Do we have an idea? Because I know obviously everyone is concerned about taxes increasing, where is the money being allocated? If we were to increase this, I know there's over 50 teachers that are going to be cut, right? Are we going to be looking at the same thing for the following year?
Can I just clarify a couple things on the table? So from a clarity standpoint, it's not 50 teacher positions being cut this year. The suggestion in order to get to 6% would be roughly 56 positions. Yes. Those 56 positions are a combination of teacher positions, paraeducator, behavioral specialists, clerical staff, some education coaches, some administrators, and some TIAs. The other piece too, I think there was a question of, well, what happens if we get less than a 6%? As I shared at one of the prior budget meetings, it roughly is about $600,000 that we need to move in order to go down 0.5% or up 0.5%. So hypothetically, we get a 5.5, there will be an additional about 600,000 that will need to be cut. Of course, if it's 1% from there, just multiply it by 2, you have about 1.3 million that needs to be cut.
Okay.
Yeah, so just Ms. Lampier, the other aspect, just again to Ms. Lewis's question, all the costing sheets go to the Board of Aldermen as well. And so when they approve our contracts, again, it'll have the cost for the next several years. So it goes into their approval process tonight. So after this meeting, we'll go to the Board of Aldermen, their budget subcommittee, and they'll be approving our family engagement and sign language interpreters contract this evening, hopefully. But they got a costing sheet of what does that cost so that they can actually forecast that into the city budget as well.
Okay, thank you. I guess I just wanted to paint the picture a little bit more for everyone out there. So I guess my question really was, if we're going for 6% this year, are we going to be looking at 6% again for the following year? Yeah.
Yeah, so yes. So I think there's an aspect, again, I think the next couple of years, there's going to be some, we need to be courageous, we need to be curious, and again, we always looking for efficiencies, but it's going to be, the next couple of years, the budget's going to be tight. And so we put in the money, again, based on our student outcome data and reinvesting where we need to go. But it's going to be difficult, and I think we need to have multi-year kind of planning. I think we're, forecasting for next year, and we're doing the facility study right now. But I think, a year from now, are we having conversations about redistricting and the utilization of our schools? It's not being recommended this year, but we need to think a year from now. What are those comments? As soon as this budget's passed, we're going to be talking about next year's budget, and once we get the facility study on what does that look like. So.
Thank you.
Our student rep has a question, I think. Do you? Okay, Ms. Raymond?
Oh, thank you. So thinking ahead, right, about what's going to happen. I remember last year having these conversations about what's going to happen next year because we don't know what we don't know. Now we know that our economy on a grander scale than just our local Nashua economy is a little bit in flux, and prices are rising rapidly across the board. Food is one of the things that is going up. Heating is going up, like things that we have to provide and we can't control. So last year we talked about, at some point we might have to talk about closing a school. I don't want to close a school, but I don't want to be sitting here in 12 months talking about laying off 50 more people. And I don't want to be sitting here in 12 months being like, hey, maybe we should talk about what to do with our schools. So if whatever happens tonight, I just want to make sure that we are having those robust conversations before 6 months from now, like maybe over the summer, to prepare the community and to prepare ourselves about how can we shift things around to make sure that we don't lose programming, but we're choosing people over buildings. I guess, love the facilities study recommendations. But, you know, I think for me, any discussion of that has to really focus on what are our special education programs and making sure that they have the physical spaces that they need. So I don't know. I don't want to be here again. And I really, as a taxpayer, I mean, everybody in the community is having the same problems that we're having at the municipal level, which is that their costs for their family have increased significantly this year, especially if you have like oil heat, for example. I do. You know.
Mr. Johnson, do you have a question? I thought maybe you might have a question. You look like you were thinking about it.
I'm thinking. I guess the one thing that rattles around in my head is, much like Ms. Raymond was saying, our need to look at things beforehand. And I think one of the things we keep kicking the can down the road on is redistricting. I really feel that we've reached the point, and I think we've seen it with one of the things about the report was the disparity of the amount of students between the schools and how important redistricting will be to give us a better sense of our schools, but also give us a better sense of our budget. And that's something that we really need to do sooner rather than, say, next year.
Ms. Gilio, did you have a question? No. Okay, Ms. Britt?
I'm being very agreeable with everything I'm hearing.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Ms. Britt, go ahead.
It's not really a question, but more comment. Again, I agree with you, Ms. Lopez, about I would prefer teachers over technology. I know it's only $200,000, but if we had to cut something, those touchscreens, I would rather have a teacher in the classroom than a touchscreen any day. I've used a whiteboard in my room for years now. I don't need a touchscreen. So we need the people. We really need the people. But again, and I know I said this last time, call your legislators, call the governor's office. She's the one who is withholding state funds from all the districts. She's the one who is trying to ask the Supreme Court to overturn the decision to fund the schools properly. We need, on the state level, we need to get more school funding. So that, I mean, it may not be a be-all, end-all, but it could be a help.
Ms. Lopez?
So I just wanted to bring back up the idea of creating that budget with everything that we're talking about. I think that since I've been on the board, we've talked about redistricting the elementary schools, that we have kicked it down the road. I think that it is time for us to make a decision. We said that when the city of Nashua gave us the money for the study, that we would make a decision. I think that should come before the budget, because we just said that that would be $100 or $1.6 million, or however much it was quoted earlier. I'm sorry, I'm kind of, so I think that those are the things that we should talk about, that it shouldn't just be one draft, take it or leave it, that we should go back and we should say, there's so many different options that we don't want to let go. There's many things that I have stand on historically that I still feel, but if there's things that we have to do according to the study that came out, then that's what we should do. We should have those conversations. We were promised that we would have those conversations. Also listening to the teachers that spoke here tonight that said that they need training. I'm scared to ask for training, because when I asked for training, they didn't get training. It's coming. You know, and I understand that everything doesn't happen, but I've been here for 2 years. This is my second budget. I think that we have to do better, but I will back my board. I'm a team player. But I don't think that the board, that this budget represents the board. It does represent the district, and we did ask for that to be done. But when it comes in like this, and it's so crucial to the community, if it's one Nashua, one budget, then we need to talk about it. But I will back whatever my board said, our board, the elected officials say.
Ms. Bishop?
In regards to the facilities study, whatever decisions are made from the facilities study, how much of that is covered by our school budget? Or is that all capital?
So that was,
bonding.
the Board of Aldermen
Okay.
paid for the study. It's not complete yet.
No, I know, I want to respond to Ms. Lopez
Yeah.
about the facility study, whatever improvement or changes happen from the facility study does not come out of our budget.
Correct. It'll go to the Board of Aldermen, whether it's going to get bonded or the
There's no
capital.
cost savings with the facility study for us.
It depends.
unless we close and
It
not
depends on the recommendation. So I think it's, right, yeah, it's
Okay.
hard to make recommendations before the study is actually complete. Like, they haven't published anything. We have an executive summary of where they are in the process, but the report hasn't been written yet, and it probably won't be written for the next couple of months.
Right.
So it's hard to present what the facility study is going to say before it's actually written.
Yeah.
We were waiting to redistrict until after we had the facility study, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Ms.
I
Raymond?
have, sorry, I just had one more follow-up question. In regards to the touch screens, now, as a parent in the district who just sent my kid off to college, where they have touch screens in lots of her fancy, expensive classrooms, would we not think about would we think about moving the touch screens at the elementary school and bring them into the high school, where it seems to me they would be more useful in regards to student future experiences?
Yeah, so I think
I mean,
this-
that's not really budget, but it just seems like.
I think the long-term,
obvious grab.
the long-term plan is really, again, in that bucket 3, what's our ed tech, or what's our technology plan? Because even at the high school right now, some of the overhead throws are very old. So our technology is starting to fail. So again, I think when we're looking at long-term planning, is some of our just basic infrastructure in the classrooms are starting to fail. So whether it's at the elementary or the high school, a lot of the investments at the touch screens at the elementary level came from Nash money, right? And so that came from PTO. So then we were looking at how do we offset the rest of it. So we were looking at equity across the elementary schools, where some schools were getting Nash money and some schools weren't. So that's where we're making sure every elementary student was getting the same experience, as opposed to some PTOs funding touchscreens and other schools not. So we were looking at that consistency elementary, but we know at the middle school level, with the renovations in the last couple of years, most of their technology is somewhat up to date, closer. And then the high school is going to be a bigger investment on what does a standardized classroom look like. But at some point, whether we're going back to whiteboards, but our technology is getting dated, and we need to look at what does that minimum cost or that standard classroom look like. So I think that's going to be important in that long-term aspect of it.
So I just have one more follow-up in regards to the technology, because I feel like, especially when we were going through the joint special and picking and choosing what we were putting in the middle schools, and then, how whatever we were doing in the high schools, I kind of got the impression that the technology, like especially the technology that we got from the ESSER funds, was going to be, let's use it until it breaks, and then we'll go back to what we used to do. This will be a nice to have. It's not something we're building into our budget to continue on. But it feels like now we've really adopted that level of technology into our schools. So I feel like we've abandoned that when they're done, they're done. You get what you get and you don't get upset. I feel like we've embraced all of this technology, and maybe it's something that we need to think about in the future when we make, just like when you're building anything you're going to talk about in 30 years, you're going to need a new roof. And Sean Smith, who I saw up there, knows, he's got the list going of all the buildings. I feel like we need to do that with technology too, especially when we're talking about anticipated future budgets. I've been on this board now, not as long as Ms. Raymond, but none of this is unexpected to me. This is actually lower than I thought we were going to be talking about this year, given what we've been talking about the last several years. But if we do want to plan accordingly, when we accept things into our district and we make these changes, we need to recognize that they're going to break, they're going to need to be upgraded, and that needs to be, when we're talking about the changes that we're making, that it's not just a cost that happens today, it's going to be a cost that we now need to bring into our budget. And it almost feels like we're too far down the slide to say, oh no, we don't want Chromebooks for every student anymore, right? That's just a silly example, but it's what I can think of. Anyway, sorry, I've taken up too much of the floor.
Ms. Freeman, go ahead.
Thanks. I agree with what you were just saying too. And I think there's new research going out that maybe we want to revisit some of that in a different setting. But Ms. Prine was talking about, and Ms. Giglio was nodding along about the Claremont decision. And I don't know if people know, but Nashua was one of the plaintiffs in the most recent Supreme Court case. We, Nashua, sued the state and said, you're not providing enough. You're not providing your share, we're providing too much. And we won. And now the state is saying we need to reconsider all of these decisions, and has not, in fact, followed any of the Supreme Court decisions thus far, saying they need to support us. In fact, back in 2000, the state gave $4,300 per student, and this year they gave $4,300 per student. So, you know, we've worked our way back to where we were in 2000. But at the end of the day, I'm going to support the superintendent's budget, even though as a taxpayer, it hurts me to do so, because I know that Nashua already spends 20% less than the state average on our education. We just do. I mean, our $18,000 and change per student is $2,000 less than what Merrimack spends next door and $3,000 less than what Hollis spends. And we're 10th from the bottom in the state. You know, Manchester is below us, Franklin is below us, which says to me that we are doing a very good job at delivering efficiencies for our populace here in Nashua if we are spending 20% less per student than the average district in New Hampshire, and we're 10th from the bottom. And so while I would like very much for the state to pick up some of its share, the bills that I have filed to get them to pay more for special education went down in flames.
Hey, maybe they'll keep us warm.
Yeah, it was painful. But I think we can continue to fight that at the state level. But in the meantime, I feel like we have a responsibility to do what we can do and try and maintain our status as being as efficient as possible and staying in the lower end of what people spend on education. But we need to recognize that we're spending about $4,000 less per student than the average town in New Hampshire. And so there's only so much we can cut.
Mr. Shalvey, go ahead.
Okay, couple of things I would like to respond to your comment. First of all, when the number of students are going down and we are spending more money, as per the math, the basic math, I think there is a possibility of improving our efficiencies. If at any point of time we are saying that we are doing best, we will never ever improve. So first of all, let's make that as an assumption. There is always a room for improvement. My second question is, definitely as a team, we might have to basically accept this budget at this point. But if city doesn't accept it, there is right now I would like to know what is the capacity of utilization in each school? Do we have that report? Because we cannot we need to do some kind of analysis to take a decision, whatever the decision, which may not be so popular to any particular segment or any particular community or any particular geographical location. So do we have that kind of a record about the capacity of utilization of each school and all?
Yes, we do. And so that was presented by Harriman. So you have that PowerPoint that was probably about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at that. And again, I think that's where if the Board of Aldermen does not support a 6%, that's where we're looking at plans B, C, and D. Okay. And that's where I think it's going to be harder conversations. Like to Mr. Gray's point right now, like the 21 teachers, mostly at the high school level, is through some efficiencies in our scheduling, right? So we're changing that schedule in order to still offer some of the same programs of study for our students in eliminating some staff, which would be an efficiency. And just for some historical aspect of it, we right-sized the elementary level 2 years ago or 3 years ago at this point. So we eliminated, I think it was 10 or 11 teachers from the elementary level 3 years ago, 3 years ago at this point. We eliminated some middle school teachers 2 years ago. And when we redistricted at that aspect of it, so this year the target is we're looking at the high school master schedule for some efficiencies, and that's the 21 teachers. So it's not always buses, but sometimes we're looking at those efficiencies. Is our master schedule, what are we running? How do we still provide some offerings to all of our students? And that efficiencies might come out of the reduction of staff in order to get those savings. But I think the harder conversations, if it's below a 6%, I did not recommend closing a school. Okay. Right, and I think those are going to be harder conversations. Or if we're looking at the utilizations of buildings, if we have to redistrict, that's where you're going to see some of the savings. But I don't think that's just in a presentation. I think that's around the horseshoe and having really difficult conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Brin?
Are you doing the slides, Mr. Gray? Can we go back to the total student enrollment slide? I just wanted to make, because this is something that came up last year too. And people keep.
You want this one or
that one,
student
yes.
makeup?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
People keep commenting about student enrollment's going down, we need to be more efficient. I just want to point out, if you look, even just 10 years ago, like 2015, 2016, even though we had over 11,000 students, about 8,000 of those kids were considered general ed. Even though we have less, look at 25, 26, we have over 2,000 students who are special education students and 2,000 students who are ELs. That's almost half the kids. The needs of these kids have also increased. This is, again, something we talked about last year. You have to have like special degrees to work with special education students and working with EL students. The needs have gone way up. And I say this as a general education teacher with many students on IEPs and EL students in my general ed classroom. But these kids, they need to be pulled out because we need to meet their needs. And yes, there's less, but they are much needier than they were even 10 years ago.
Mr. Johnson?
Just to say on top of that too, it's not only that we need to do it, we're required to do it. We are required by state and federal laws to meet these kids' needs. It's not something we can just say, well, we're gonna cut money from special education. We're required to meet those things. We can't cut from, ELL. We're required to meet those things. We went through a whole DOJ thing about that. These are expenses that cannot be removed, and it has increased in the past 10 years, and that's why we see more needs for more budget.
Yeah. Ms. Giglio?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the state continues to mandate that we do more and more, and yet they're not giving us more. And unless we start really making noise and letting the state know how important this is, we're just going to keep getting $4,300 per student like we have for the last however many years.
25.
Well, we need to, people need to get angry about this. This is our kids. These are our children. This is our future. The state is absolutely deplorable in education right now. Thank you. So we all need to work on that front too, even though we need to approve a budget this week. But we need to do that because our kids deserve it. Thank you.
Just to be fair, it went down significantly and then has come back up to 4,300. We didn't stay the same. That would have been nice.
That doesn't make it any better.
Ms. Bishop?
So I just want to remind everybody that even if we go forward with the proposed budget, if the aldermen do not approve what it is that we're asking for, are we going to come back and talk about what the changes are going to be? Or is that going to be, you guys kind of have some executive leadership and,
Yeah, so we'll come.
I mean, you have executive leadership.
Yeah, so we'll look at,
I'll give it to you.
thanks. Yeah, we'll come back to this board with the next kind of, the next layer of cuts.
Because
you
at
know.
that point, it's not up for discussion. It's,
We have our bottom line, and this is how do you want to play with the bottom line, and where are we investing? So, I hate to say, a lot of times the hard work starts once you get your full budget. Right now is like, it's nice to have the 6%. This is where we're going, but until we actually know what that bottom line is, then you get to your true cuts. The other unknown, I got a couple questions on what, will we know the exact positions? And we don't yet. A lot is going to be reliant on the high school master schedule. The kids are, their kids are signing up for classes right now. They have to start building the schedule, and then we'll be able to determine on what's the enrollment by sections of what sections we're running. So then we can kind of predict or forecast on which departments may be able to absorb a reduction, but we won't have the exact positions probably until April or May. But we'll at least know how many positions we might have to go down or other options that we'll bring back to the board.
I feel like now we've pretty much covered everything that we can. I would like to vote on the budget now. I'm not sure, Ms. Bishop, can we do that in this?
I wasn't listening to you.
What else to do? Can we vote on the budget in this meeting, or do we have to go to the next meeting?
What were you saying? We can vote it out of here and into the full board.
But I think
That's what I'd like to do, if I could get a motion.
Need a number.
So what I wrote down from the chart, which is no longer up there, was the motion is to approve the fiscal year 2027 school district budget in the amount of, and I think this is the right one,
Is this what you want?
144,481,666.
Can you just put without benefits, please?
Without benefits.
No kidding.
Okay.
Do you want me to write the other one instead? And then I wrote, which is a 6% increase from
Because the
fiscal year
6%
26.
is the 144, the
No,
747 will be.
Yeah, city really handles the benefits. I would write 144.4 million.
Okay. I'm going to put the actual number.
That's fine, just please put without benefits.
Without benefits, which is a 6% increase from fiscal year 2026.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Lampier. And this is to vote it, to send it to the,
I'm sorry, who's the first person? Is it me?
it was you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just
It's
reading
hard
it.
to think and do that. I remember that.
Okay. I didn't
I
leave
think
room
you
on the
gave me
sheet to
clerk
write who
my
made the
second year,
motions.
so it would keep me quiet.
Okay. Do we want to do it by voice vote or roll call?
Yeah, roll call
I
sounds
think
good
roll
to me.
call is only fair.
Okay. Ready? Ms. Gilio,
Yes.
Ms. Prin,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Salvi,
Yes.
Ms. Lampier,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez.
Only option, yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Bishop.
Yes.
Ms. Parato, do you want to have a symbolic vote? You don't have to if we don't want to. Okay. Okay, so that passes. I didn't do it in the right order a little bit because I don't have the right sheet and I don't remember what the right order is off the top of my head, so I just
They're
went
sitting
around
in
the
their
room.
right order. That's why they sit like this.
Right, but then there's a,
It's just me at the end.
yeah, I think someone's out of order. It doesn't matter.
That's you.
I think Ms. Raymond is out of order, probably. I don't know where you're supposed to be in here.
You're out of order.
It doesn't matter. It works.
Okay, but so now we can adjourn the meeting, right?
But yeah, and then we have to go into our special board meeting where we will vote on this to send it over to the aldermen and an open enrollment discussion.
So I'm making a motion to adjourn this part of the meeting, or this
Second.
current meeting.
All done. Okay, so Ms. Gilio made the motion and.
Second.
Oh, Ms. Bishop already did.
Yep, let's go.
Okay, and then you're going to run the next one, right?
Wait, we have to vote.
Oh, yes, of course.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and so we are out at 7:32 PM.